Hello and welcome. You're watching My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. You knew that. You knew all these things already. Well, I'm going to tell you a few things that you don't know, which is that I've got Simon Doull and Michael Vaughan here with me from different parts of the world. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good, thanks, G. I'm good, man. How are you?
You behaving yourself, staying locked up in your room, not prancing around with Pommy too much? I see Pommy. I'm scared for Pommy. Pommy's all over the place.
Well, that's just Pommy on tour, isn't it? You're enjoying his videos, though, aren't you? There's little videos that he takes of our drivers. I mean, we've got Abdullah, we've got Monal, we've got, I can't remember half of their names, but we had a bloke yesterday who got us completely lost. He was, instead of going to Sharjah, he went to Oman.
Yeah.
And so that was the same guy we had yesterday when we were supposed to be going somewhere, and we were going in the complete different direction. So I won't talk too much about him, but the rest of the drivers and Pommy have been good.
He is making them famous. That's what he is doing. We have a big game today. We're super excited because, does the winner of this game get a queue against any? Well, they don't. But do they make their chances really solid? Yes, they do. So they probably put an O, and they still have to put that little stick of the Q still there, the Q-tip. They're still going to put that in. But of course, they really firm up their chances of not just qualifying, but perhaps on top of the table as well. Why do I say that? Let's show you the aforementioned points table so you know exactly why I'm saying this game is just so critical for both these teams. They're 1 and 2. Remember, Delhi was 2 till yesterday. They didn't do anything. Bangalore didn't do anything. And Bangalore just came to number 2 because there was such a drastic drop in net run rate for Delhi. Because Dooley, that loss yesterday was that wasn't a loss. That was a proper thrashing, wasn't it?
I think I don't know what Vaughnie sort of thinks from afar, but to me, that's the last couple of games would be a real concern. They're a team that has started so well, but they appear to be on the downward slide now. And some of these other teams coming to the back end of the competition appear to be on an upward slide. And to me, this is the wrong end of the tournament to be having some pretty ordinary games, Vaughnie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the IPL is such a long tournament, 14 games, that you do have enough time to have a blip. It's just when you have that blip, if you have the blip at the start and then you come good like Kings 11 are doing, well, you can sneak through into the qualifications and anything's possible. Whereas if you're Delhi and you start so well and all of a sudden that blip comes around now and players lose confidence at the wrong time, as we speak, it's the wrong end of the tournament where you want players to be fine in form, confidence. You want your team to be very settled. Well, for the first time, really, in the last couple of games, we're starting to look at Delhi and look at individuals within the team to say, are they in the right positions? Is Ricky getting it wrong for the first time, probably ever? He'll have a concern, particularly last night, that they were terrible. They were poor in every single department. So as a coach, he's got a job to do before that next game to get those confidence levels back to where they were a few games ago.
Because the two oppositions that Delhi have left are the two people who are playing today. So they're playing table toppers. Not too long ago, Delhi were table toppers, but now suddenly they're fighting for survival against Mumbai and then Bangalore. And, Dooley, we were talking last night and Michael was here last night and Joy was here. And we were saying that, they could lose these 2 games and perhaps still qualify with some mathematics that is way above my pay grade. And they could do that, but you can't go into playoffs on the back of 5 losses and have anyone think you're a threat.
No, you can't, and it's a weird situation, isn't it? When we looked at those remaining games, that the 3 top teams play each other. So I mean, they could all end up with 2 points. They could all beat each other. That is a genuine possibility. If they all beat each other, they all move up. 2 points on the tables. Let's say tonight. Let's say Mumbai beat Bangalore tonight. Delhi beat Mumbai on the 31st, and then Bangalore beat Delhi on the 2nd. Which is all absolutely possible. That could happen. And then you've got Punjab. Punjab are taking on Rajasthan and they're taking on Chennai.
Yeah.
And Kolkata are taking on Rajasthan and they're taking on Chennai. So you've got the teams that are relevant playing against the same teams.
Yeah.
It's quite a bizarre situation you ended up in at the back end of the tournament, that all the relevant teams are basically playing against the same teams, not all against each other, but against the same team. So, there's some chances for some weird results. There's an opportunity, I guess, for 14 points and a net run rate.
No, there's a log jam. There's a potential for a 16-point log jam. There's a possibility for 5 teams to finish with 16 points. That should be maximum, not minimum. There's 5 teams that can finish with 16 points and all be there just stuck together with net run rate deciding what happens. This is just set up for a fantastic last week, isn't it?
Well, it's exactly what the tournament wants. Chennai, they've just not been at the party. The Dad's Army has finally looked old for the first time for many, many years. There's only really Sam Curran of the younger brigade that's doing much for them. It's exactly what you need. You need to be going down the wire. You need the last couple of games, pretty much every team having a little bit of a sniff of qualification. You've just got to have your star players playing well going into that qualification. If you don't have your star players, you're not going to win too many games. And I'm just looking at that Kings 11 team. I mean, from where they were 4 or 5 games ago to where they found themselves since the universe bosses arrived and clobbered the ball into all parts. There's stories like that I love about T20 cricket, that there's these teams that suddenly arrive and find confidence, find form, find a little bit of rhythm and momentum, and you can steamroll at anyone. And on the other regard, you look at Delhi, they look to me like they're going through a period where they could find a way to lose from any position as well, because the confidence level has been drained out of them. That's why I love T20 cricket, because very, very difficult to predict. You're never quite sure who's going to win, because it only takes 1 or 2 individuals to stick their hand up. That's why T20 cricket is such a great spectacle.
Simon?
And it's only a week ago, boys. We're looking at this table thinking, these guys are running away with it. We've got Mumbai, we've got RCB, we've got Delhi at the top. They'll qualify. Who else going to get there? Probably Kolkata. The rest of them are just also rans. Rajasthan can't win a game. Kings 11 can't. Surely they can't win 6 in a row. This tournament, every year, it finds a way to turn around and bite you or kick you, or just prove you wrong. And that's what I love. And, Michael, as you said, that's why you love T20. That's why I love this tournament. It is exactly what it does to you every time. It'll just turn around and say, no, Mr. Doull, don't you go picking your top 4 just yet, because you will be wrong.
Yeah, and this year has also given us a term for it now. It's called a Tivatia, right? It's just, if it just turns around unexpectedly, it's called a Tivatia. Well, there's Mumbai Indians who have won the toss and have chosen to bowl first. So Mumbai going to be bowling, which means Bangalore is batting. Mumbai is unchanged. No surprise. But also no Rohit Sharma, no captain. He's not here. So which means that Ishan Kishan opens with Quinton de Kock, which has worked out well for them. There's, of course, Sky at number 3, probably a point to prove. Hasn't been picked in the T20 team for India. Saurav Tiwari at 4, Captain Pollard, Pandya brothers, Chahar Pattinson, Bolt, and Bumrah. This is, Michael, a solid team. Will, of course, miss their captain, like you mentioned yesterday, a 25% hit if they don't have their captain. But, when you're playing at 125, you can take a 25% hit.
Yeah, they're still a strong team. But I just think without Rohit Sharma, I doubt whether they can go all the way. I just think he's such a prominent part of the Mumbai Indians, captaincy-wise, leadership, obviously his batting. They're still a very strong side. I mean, you look from 1 to 11, very consistent in their selections. They stay true to the players that they believe in. They're still a good side, but I just think the no Rohit Sharma factor is such a big one. I just don't see them winning the IPL this year without Rohit. I don't know what's wrong with Rohit Sharma. It's all a mystery to us all. Why he's not touring, why he was in the nets, why he's at the ground. He was early, wasn't. He's now injured. Worries about his fitness. Who knows? But I just don't see them winning this year's IPL without Rohit Sharma playing some part over the course of the next few games.
Dooley, a man on the ground, will perhaps give us more behind the scenes. Wow, the curious case of Rohit Sharma.
I wish I knew. It is actually, it's a bit like Benjamin Button, isn't it? I just have no idea. What's going on? He was at the ground the other night. He was in the dugout, so it's certainly not anything too serious. We've heard it was an upset stomach. Then we've heard it's a slight injury or a niggle. We don't really know. I think the physio wants him to take 2 weeks out. And then he hasn't been named in either of these or any of these teams to tour Australia, which is another bizarre situation if it's only an injury break. I'll keep my ear to the ground. I'll try and find out more for us.
I tell you what, Dooley, I mean, an upset stomach. I've had the odd dodgy prawn around the world, but to have a dodgy prawn, it rules you out of a tour of Australia. It's hell of a bad one.
Must have been a big prawn, yeah? Must have been a
It's
really
one of those giant North Queensland prawns.
perhaps is. It was really, really bad. You're a bad prawn. You really are. We have the Bangalore team, which has made 3 changes, not because of any prawns, but just because of the surface, apparently. And they're saying other conditions. You've got Josh Philippe at the top. That's their big news. Josh Philippe is coming in for Aaron Finch, and we'll discuss that in a second. You got young Mr. Dube, Shivam Dube, who comes in, and he's coming in place of Gurkirat. No, Gurkirat is there. Who's he come in place of? Navdeep Saini. And Dale Steyn is coming in as well, and he comes in place of Moeen Ali. So, bit of mix and match, but there you go. Looking like Dooley's looking like a solid pace attack there. Dale Steyn, Chris Morris, Mohammad Siraj. Looks all right.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they'll miss Navdeep Saini. That's their real pace. Their genuine 145 to 150 is Saini. He's got a little niggle, I think, Virat said at the toss. And so it's precautionary. Post that last game.
I think webbing or something.
Where he split his webbing, didn't he? Split his webbing or something, didn't he, last game? So it's precautionary. Look, Dale Steyn's still a fantastic bowler, but he is not, when I watched him in those first 2 games, just not the pace he once was. And it's not going to frighten batsmen like he once did. He's also, he's never been, this is going to sound really harsh, but he's never been a great death bowler. He really doesn't like going to Yorkers. At the death, he's been more of a length bowler, and we'll never ever forget that final ball of the semi-final at the World Cup in 2015, where they wanted him to bowl a Yorker, and he said, "No, I'm going to go hard length." And Grant Elliott dispatched it into the middle of Eden Park's grandstands. But to me, it's an interesting selection around that with Moeen Ali. I thought last game they should have opened with Moeen Ali, given him an opportunity up the top. But they've decided to drop him. They've decided to drop Aaron Finch, who's been a little bit hit and miss this year as well. So they're interesting situations, interesting selections late in the piece, possibly brought about by a hope.
More miss than hit, actually, for Aaron Finch. If you have a look at his numbers, if you have a look at his scores, he's got 150 plus score, coincidentally, against this very opposition, against Mumbai. But that was a month ago, I think. And then you, of course, have, it's been dismal, right? I mean, it has. You can see him struggling. And Vaughan, as a batsman, you see him struggling. You see him trying to change the lengths. You see him walking out, walking back, walking sideways. And then more often than not, just walking back to the dugout.
Yeah, I mean, you look at those numbers, they're not big, but he's getting starts. So he's getting slightly in. I think it's a big call. They've played the young Australian batsman, Josh Philippe, because of the pitch, because it essentially comes onto the bat that little bit better in Abu Dhabi. I'd have gone with Aaron Finch. Give him that chance on the kind of surface, because that's where he plays so well on a pitch that comes onto the bat. I'm with Dooley. If you're going to make that change, I'd have gone with Moeen Ali at the top of the order, and it gives him a little bit of a bowling option as well. Left hand, he plays quicks decently, hits the spinners nicely. But if I were going to play anyone, I'd go with Aaron Finch again. I think it's such a big call. I mean, the Sunrisers made the big decision yesterday to get rid of Johnny Bairstow. It worked for them. To get rid of Aaron Finch for Josh Philippe, as much as he is a young, talented, potential superstar of the future, I would always have given, if you're going to give an experienced pro who's been there and done it, I know he's had that many teams in the IPL, Aaron Finch, but he's a wonderful player. I'd always give those players 1 or 2 extra games than kind of drop them a game too soon, because as we saw from David Warner last night, Warner came out fire and delivered. I'd have given Aaron Finch the license at Abu Dhabi tonight to say, go on fire. Just go and swing and see if you can get us a quick 50 inside the first 6 or 7 overs to get himself back into the tournament. By not playing him, I think they've missed an opportunity of getting a star player back into form.
I can't think it can be because of wanting to get wicket-keeping relief for AB de Villiers, right, Dooley?
No, I don't think AB de Villiers needs relief from any sort of cricket things. He just wants to do everything, involved in the game all the time. I think it's around the starts that they're getting. And when you look through those numbers that we put up from Aaron Finch, the only time he's been like well and truly ahead of 115, 120 strike rate, once was that 50 off 35. But look at the other numbers, 29 from 27, 20 from 21, 13, 14, 2 from 9, 8 from 7. He's not getting them off to a quick start. So he, in turn, is putting pressure on DEP. And that's been a major problem. 47, 37, that's okay. But the rest of those numbers are poor. 16, 21, 15, 11, 14, 11. So they're not getting the firing starts that they want. the rating.
And he's playing through the power play.
top.
When you see that when he gets out, he plays through the power play, which is, of course, putting a lot of pressure, as you rightly say.
So often.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. So he's not getting them 50, 60 in the power play, pressure on the young man at the other end. And what they need is someone who's going to play some shots. Now, that's why I think Michael and I both say that Moeen Ali's probably the man to play the shots. I'm not sure Josh Philippe is. I think that's what they're going to ask of him tonight. They probably want him to be aggressive in the power play. He has done it in the Big Bash, but this is another step up, and people will be saying, the Big Bash is a great competition. Look, it's a good competition, but it ain't no IPL. This is the best in the business.
I'll also add that it also tells you the IPL is a different pressure. He's a world-class performer. He knows he's playing for Australia week in, week out, so he can just go and play his game. In the IPL, you're 2 or 3 low scores away from being dropped. I mean, Johnny Bairstow had an incredible time of it with the Sunrisers. Not really been out of one, but they get rid of him last night. You don't get that with your international teams. Now, Johnny Bairstow's not getting dropped from England. If he had 2 or 3 low scores in the T20 game, he's just in that side. Whereas Aaron Finch has been dropped because the IPL is a different tool. There's so much more pressure on these individual players. You look at the individual contracts, the money that they're earning for a 6-week period. There's a huge amount of pressure that I think individuals put on themselves. I think it's more of an individual pressure that you put on yourselves to make sure you try and perform in the IPL that you don't necessarily get when you're playing for the international teams.
True. Well, there's no pressure on all of you watching at home. You have to make your My 11 Circle team. You just have to pick 11 players from Bangalore and Mumbai. No pressure at all. No pressure, man. Just download the app, of course, on my11circle.com. Once you do that, you choose the game. And there's just the one today. There's one equivalent of 5. It's 1 and 2 playing each other. It's Mumbai and Bangalore. Choose 11 players, and there you go. Let's also give you a little bit of help. We'll tell you who you should pick as your My 11 Circle trump card. One person who we think you definitely should have in your team, and that's young Yuzi Chahal. Yuzi. I love Yuzi. Who doesn't love Yuzi, Dooley?
He's brilliant. I mean, I said it the other night. I reckon he could ride 55 kilos in the first race at Maidan here in Dubai in the desert on a horse. He's that tiny. There's nothing to him at all. But he's just he is a gutsy cricketer. Whether it be in the field, he's brilliant with the ball. I just love the fact that he's prepared to loop it. Now, what he's done this year slightly differently, and I think he's really worked on it. He was bowling probably 5-6 inches wide of off stump. He's really targeting the stumps a lot more this year, and he's slowed it up nicely. We had some great stats from our guys the other night about, I think he's the 3rd or 4th slowest spin bowler in the tournament, as in giving it more flight, giving it more airtime, averages around that early 80s, which is great speed. But what he does is controls his length so beautifully. And I think that's one of the big keys for Chahal. Love watching him bowl. He's always got a smile on his face. And, even when he comes out to bat and there's 80 needed to win, he's going to have a smile on his face. So
he's got a smile and a swing. Smile and a swing, isn't he? Who was the fastest, by the way? Was it Krunal Pandya? Was the fastest spinner Krunal Pandya? I think so.
Possibly Krunal. I know Akshar was up there, I think. I know those 2 left armers, but again, it shows you that you can. There's many ways to skin a cat, so to speak, because Yuzi bowls it nice and slow. Chahal and Akshar Patel and Pandya have both been successful as well, bowling quite quick, darting it in.
Let's have a look at our boost stamina meter real quick and see who are the people up there. I'm not going to find too many spinners there, though. You can find the pace bowlers. Dooley's happy about that and saying, right, son, of course. You got Jofra Archer there right at the top. You got a few batsmen spending a lot of time in there. Then you've got Nokia, Mohammad Shami, Trent Bolt, Jasprit Bumrah, Pat Cummins. You got 6 quicks there in the top 10. That's making Dooley happy. We're, of course, talking today, focusing on Pollard and A.B. de Villiers, 2 absolute legends when it comes not just to their teams here, but in world cricket. And there they are this season. Their stamina scores are high, their average runs. Then, of course, how many boundaries, their fielding rating. This gun fielder. Bonnie, I mean, that's another thing with Pollard, right? He looks like a big unit. He looks like the Empire State Building, but suddenly he's swatting them around like King Kong.
Yeah, and so much admiration for the likes of Kieran. I mean, A.B. de Villiers is an athlete, as is Kieran Pollard. But AB de Villiers plays a bit of cricket here and there and kind of arrives at the IPL. He knows how to play the pressure. He's just a wonderful talent. And Kieran Pollard is in that category. And he probably doesn't get the same kind of mentions as the AB de Villiers, and because he's not as kind of worldwide in terms of his performance levels across international cricket. But I think when Kieran Pollard finally hands his boots up, it'll be his career of the IPL that we all talk about. Now, we're not going to mention too much of his West Indian stuff. He's done some obviously tremendous work for them, but it's all about his work for the Mumbai Indians. He's a leader. He's the captain now, but that documentary that I saw last year, a lot of it seemed to surround the likes of Kieran Pollard in that dressing room. He plays a massive role, even if he's not in the team. Just in that dugout, in that dressing room, talking to the players. Looks to me like he's got a great relationship with the owners. It's always handy in the IPL when you have that. A wonderful talent. He's worth two players in the outfield because of his height, his presence, and obviously his striking with the bat this year has been as good as ever. And likes of Chris Gayle, Kieran Pollard, they're getting older, but they're still improving, and that's the key to playing cricket for a long period of time. You've always got to keep improving, and that's what these players that play for such a long period of time do.
You know that Pollard is 10 years younger than Gayle, right? Bonnie's like, what? That don't make no sense.
That can't be right.
It is true.
There's some strange ages around the world. I mean, Shahid
and Rashid is 10 years younger than Pollard.
Yeah. Rashid Khan, how old is he? 24?
And Shahid Afridi is 10 years younger than Rashid.
Was he 16 still?
I think perhaps is. And of course, Pollard, well, you say he's worth two in the field, even with his hands, those bucket hands. That's like two regular hands and one hand, right? Which allows him to just take those catches. They're like buckets. Dude, he just goes in and stays in.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Look, he's a great mover. And one thing about great movers, they also anticipate. And I think that's one of the things that he does brilliantly well is anticipates, off the bat. It's easy to be walking in around that boundary area and get it wrong. But he just anticipates well and moves so well. And if he can get to a catch, he'll hold on to it. We've seen some brilliant fielders through this tournament, though. And I think, the standard of fielding in this IPL in particular has been through the roof, whether it be the catching, some of the ground fielding we're seeing. It's been exceptional. He's right up there as far as, that fielding component's concerned.
Let's move on to one topic that I move on to with great trepidation always, because I worry about it. Because when he's not here, he tends to send essays, very difficult essays as questions, which take a long, long time to decode. But it is something we must do, so let's do it. It's a joy factor question. Here it is. Who or what connects a podcast on the outbreak of the COVID-19 with a musician whose real name is Nicodemus Sukheta Mogashoa with a 6-wicket haul in a junior World Cup match? What does that even mean?
Who or what connection? Can we read that again? I'm sorry. Can you put that up again, please?
Please.
I just want you to read that name again.
Who or what connects a podcast on the outbreak of the COVID-19 with a musician whose real name is Nicodemus Sukheta Mogashoa with a 6-wicket haul in a junior World Cup match? So there's a connection between a guy who does a podcast on COVID-19, a musician with that particular name, and a 6-wicket haul in a junior World Cup. Oh, good luck. Good luck.
Who? Was it? Who? WHO? Yeah, the answer to this question is just who. That's the podcast on COVID-19. The singer, you go, who is that singer? And it's just joy. Who are you? Why do you come up with these things? Maybe that's the answer. Send it to us. #Cricbuzz Live on Twitter. We really want to know. I personally really want to know what it is. So I'm going to be tracking this. We, of course, will try to not complicate our guesses for how much Bangalore will get, as much as that question was complicated by Joy. So, gentlemen, for our My 11 Circle badge of honor, Bangalore batting first. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
Oh, it's a fresh pitch. They've talked about a fresh pitch. It's a quality bowling lineup. Pattinson, Bolt up front are going to pick up 2, maybe 3. RCB, Bangalore under the pump, squeeze their way to 158.
158.
Yeah, I'm going to go 180.
180.
I'm going 180.
Biggie. That's a biggie. I'll go 173. I'll also go big. Go big or go home.
Okay.
173, 180, 158. Those are ours. What are yours? Let us know. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live on Twitter. We are available 24/7. That's a lie. We aren't. But we occasionally look at it once in a while. So send us a text and we may actually register it. We're going to leave right now, but we're going to come back at the end of the 10th over with the Cricbuzz Combox, a little update at the midpoint of the Bangalore batting effort. And then, of course, we will be here at the end of the 20 overs with My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. A big thank you to Simon and Michael. I'm Gaurav Kapur. See you in a bit.